We're recording. So, good morning, Maci. It's lovely to
Good
see you.
morning. Thank you.
And I think you're in Europe now, right?
I'm in Mallorca, Spain,
Okay.
an
Wow.
island.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm in very snowy Boulder, Colorado. Thank God for some snow. It's put a
Oh,
damper on the enormous fires we've been having. So,
uh,
able to take a deep breath. Um,
hmm,
I'm really just so happy to introduce you to the Matrix Works and especially the Enlightened Feminine Leadership community.
hmm.
And I think your work, you have a new book, yes, Passion and Presence, that's come out, and
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
new tools or ways that you're going to be offering this. So I'd really like you to speak first about that, about the opportunities for people, and maybe before we launch in, we could name how we know each other. It's been a long time.
Yeah. Well, we get to see each other in tiny little bites. They're not big enough,
Yeah, that's true.
but we work as colleagues. We're both trainers of Hakomi Mindful Somatic Psychotherapy. I actually was in your group leadership training. If you can believe this, do you know the year? Do you remember?
No, I'm afraid to ask, but
Okay, here we go.
okay.
2003.
Oh my God.
2003. I
Wow.
know.
Yeah.
Almost 20 years ago, really, in a
Oh,
way.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that has really like embedded in me. It's such powerful work. So thank you for that.
Well, and I've watched your career unfold and I've admired your boldness in what you're offering.
Mm,
And in a way, I
mm,
feel like that this work that you're presenting, and I've had the opportunity to take part in some of your work, so I'm speaking very personally, it is
mm,
life changing for couples. And
mm,
at this time, I think, with all over the world, the pandemic and we're either with each other 24/7 or or we don't see each other at all, and
yeah.
the need for strengthening our ability for relationship that is meaningful and alive and vital is just really critical. So would you share with us how we can do more with you?
How you can do more with me. Oh, okay, great. Well, the book, as you mentioned, it's out. You can order it on any retailer button since we're not going to bookstores these days. Also, as you just mentioned, yes, I normally do live events, but because again of COVID, we're converting to online and possibly an immersion format, but now maybe more of an 8 or 10 session kind of thing to make it more accessible.
Mhm.
So I imagine you'll list my website when
Yes,
you
yes.
post
Well,
this. So if people want to learn more, I welcome you to come
and
check us out.
how is it for you, this move from in person, because it's such intimate work?
Uh,
It must have really been an invitation for you to dig deep.
just really to dig deep. And I'm happy to say that I have for a few years been doing group coaching sessions.
Uh-huh.
And I have seen, as I'm sure you have, that it's possible to build safety and trust in an online community and go deep and then serve each other's healing, because anytime anyone is brave enough to be vulnerable in a group, it melts hearts and everyone starts to feel like, oh, you're speaking for me.
Yes.
In terms of the longer training, it's anyone's guess. This is new for us. It's an innovation. So we'll see. We're piloting that.
I
Yeah.
like how bright you look though when you're speaking of it and anticipating what can happen. And I'm sure you're
Yeah.
clear. Um, I would like to float this question for you, and
Mm,
it's very simple, but I think it'll take us where I'd like to see us go. And it's just the question:
okay.
what do you serve?
Mm,
Your book is Passion and Presence, but I'm interested in your purpose. Yeah, your
mm.
individual purpose, and what are you serving with your work?
Well, that one's easy for me
Okay.
because what absolutely turns me on is transformation, capital T transformation. And the erotic portal is so uniquely poised to support that. because it's so naked and so confronting. And we see more directly than perhaps anywhere else in life the ways we pull back from life, the way we inhibit our aliveness, the ways our shame shows up as aversion and judgment, the way our habits and patterns of expressing or receiving give us a window into our limiting beliefs.
Mm.
And as you know, we hardly ever meet the present directly. It's always being filtered through the past. Dan Siegel coined the term anticipatory machines, as you know, that humans import everything we've learned into our present, and that's beginning to shape our future. So when it comes to sex,
Mm-hmm.
our beliefs, our expectations, our shame, our states that we habitually go into begin to shape our bedroom behaviors well before we start to relate physically.
Mm-hmm.
And my interest is helping couples look at those filters, which I call barriers to pure erotic potential,
Mm-hmm.
which in that process of working with those and transforming those as a mindful team, they both heal and grow. Sex gets better,
Mm-hmm.
and we become more wakeful, not just in our sex life, but in general. And that process lights me up, and that's what I stand for.
Wow. Yeah, what I hear is that it's a tool for body, mind, spirit integration.
That's
Does
really
does
nice.
that ring true for you?
Absolutely, because as you know, most of those imprints that are shaping our experience are embodied, right? They're
Right,
not
right.
cognitive, right? They were imprinted
The
before we
implicit
were
memory.
old enough to
Yeah.
process them consciously. So to access them, we have to move into the body. Shame is so much around the body. Um, uh, General shame, sexual shame, they knot themselves together in eros inhibiting ways. But yes, we have beliefs, attitudes, internal models about sex that are steering us, ideas of what's right, wrong sex. So, mind, body, and spirit, absolutely, because for many people, meeting erotically is where they connect to mystery and something larger and profoundly creative. So, yes, yes.
Like the higher third comes in when there's awareness. And as I remember working with you, Maci, one of the things that my partner, it's a long-term relationship, as you know, took away is like a greater sense of permission to bring
Mm,
wholeness and to bring authenticity,
mm.
even differences, in more explicitly into the relationship. And I wonder if that's a common response to your work, that I now have permission to be in this erotic relationship.
I love that. And oh my God, where do I start with that one? First off, a big part of this transformational work is reintegrating exiled parts of ourselves. We've all done that, right? And so, how can we bring more of ourselves to the table? Well, it starts with permission and befriending and recognizing that every part of us has value and wisdom and connects us again to the life force. Secondly, though, and I know you and I are absolutely on the same page here. Every couple, when they get to a certain place in their relationship, they're going to rub up against each other. We don't grow through gliding on smooth ice, right?
Yeah.
And most of us, myself included, are averse to conflict until we recognize that when we work with differences consciously and with some skill and intelligence, we open the door.
Yeah.
It can usher us across a developmental threshold. That's how growth, that's how creativity emerges. So to say, bring it, let's bring all of our parts, let's find a place for all of them. They have to dance together, even if they step on each other's toes. That's a huge part of this work. Yes, yes.
And as I hear you, it's like this shift of differences from being perceived as threats to seeing
Mm,
them as gifts that do
mm.
open that doorway, as you say, into new possibilities and much more creativity. Does that feel
Yeah,
accurate to you?
absolutely. In fact, I'd love to just, sort of say that the path and practice of awakened intimacy, which
Yeah,
is what passion and presence
yeah,
is making an agreement. We're going to wake up together by working through our erotic challenges as a mindful team.
yeah,
So that means that we agree that when either one of us gets triggered, when we're shutting down, losing aliveness, defaulting into our numbing routines,
mm,
getting angry, getting fearful, all the things that come up around
yeah,
sex,
yeah.
self-conscious, judging,
Well,
that we stop.
avoidant, yeah.
Exactly, all that stuff. We stop, we study, and we adjust accordingly. And we may even co-design a reparative experience
Mm,
to a wound that's emerging now. So we're not so much making love anymore. We're in this
mhm,
heal and repair process.
mm.
And I mention that because as a precursor, we have to shift our attitude from viewing triggers and other difficulties that arise as a nuisance and a problem,
Uh-huh.
and rather an opportunity to heal and grow. And that, that requires a different mindset, but it's such a reassuring one.
Mm,
Again, it's welcoming.
mm,
Whatever comes, it's workable. In fact, it's in service. It can serve us if we
mm,
meet it with that kind of understanding.
mhm. Macy, I want to know what kind of challenges and criticisms you've received in bringing this work forward, because I do see it as a bold offering and so needed. And yet, anytime a paradigm is changing, there's resistance to that. And so, how do you cope when you encounter dissent or
Yeah,
criticism?
yeah. Well, we'll see what the reviews are on my book. I'm a little bit like, ah. um,
Mm,
what I would say more is I haven't so much met somebody challenging the paradigm as much as resisting possibly being wakeful and conscious,
uh-huh.
because we're designed to be automatic. We all get into automatic patterns
That's
in
true.
all areas of life, including our sex life. And if we're going to start being more aware, that's confronting. It's confronting to the relationship. It can make things worse before they're better. I mean, we avoid for good reasons.
Right.
So I've had people be fearful.
Mm,
I've had people say, is this a female centered view of sexuality?
mm, mm,
Uh, because it's not, I don't privilege intercourse as the be all and end all
mhm,
of eroticism.
mhm.
I'm so much more interested in whole body sex. And so to that, I answer yes. That there are multiple arousal pathways and our bodies change throughout life. And
Yes.
what turned me on yesterday may not turn me on today or be available to me today. So
Mhm.
to be fluid and flexible and get off that script, that sometimes requires people to um, broaden out in a way that there may be some initial reluctance, and then eventually, just as we grow and accept impermanence and change, people see there's advantages to it.
Mhm. Yeah, well, that's good, and it's a bigger understanding than I think I was imagining. Do you would you suggest your work for a particular age group, or do you see it as useful for young people and also older people, or how are you in that assessment?
Yeah, people ask me this all the time. And my marketing people ask me this all the time, like, who's our demographic? And I'm like so reluctant to pinpoint it because I teach a 3-stage model of conscious erotic coupling. And all couples go from, in my view, enchantment to disenchantment
Mhm.
within months, if not a couple of years, whether they're in their 20s or their 70s or
Really?
80s, and they're just getting together. And so the practice of working with what inevitably comes up in every relationship that endures
Mm,
is not a function of age. It's not a function of duration together after that early stage, which is exalted and unique.
mhm,
Um, but what I deal with is what I call real life sex.
mm,
And of course, the further along we are in our journey, the more complicated life is. We have many different roles and responsibilities, all of which can create
mm.
eros inhibiting states. And we have to work to find a bridge back to our embodied eroticism. And so things just get more complicated as we go forward. We have illness, we have disease, we have disability.
That's
Again, that can happen early in life, but we're more apt to encounter that later in life. So I would say it's really quite a range.
mhm. Yeah. So I wonder if I'm going to stop asking questions and invite you to share
Oh,
whatever you feel you would want people to know about
mm.
you, about the work, and I just want your nuggets to be in the last part of our talk together.
Well, I think because I just threw in that term real life and real life sex, that I'd like to say a word about that.
Okay, good.
So I'm sure everybody who's watching this knows that the sex we see in the media captures a very special stage in the relationship and a very special state of being
Mm,
where all of our deeper rooted sexual issues kind of recede. Everything recedes, real life recedes.
yeah,
We're in this bubble.
yeah.
Our lover is in the foreground. We're in that, resonance space where we're immune to almost, the usual setbacks and pressures. And sex is great at that stage, by and large, for almost all couples. Not everyone,
Mm,
particularly if we have a trauma history, but by and large, because we have this biochemical shift,
mm,
sex is frequent, it's easy, we're compatible, we want it all the time. We don't have to set things up to make it happen.
yeah,
Eventually, however, real life taps us on the shoulders and says, hey, you've got, bills to pay,
yeah.
mouths to feed, papers to write or to grade. And if we go forward on our journey together, the roles we take on to fulfill those tasks are largely eros inhibiting.
Mm, mm,
And so we do have to build a bridge to
mm,
get into an eros enhancing role.
mm,
And along with that are all the things I just named that make life very complicated. But when the love drugs kind of wear off,
mm.
when we go into these other kinds of states, that's when we discover, wow, we're not as harmonious as we thought.
Uh-huh.
What turns you on turns me off. Your arousal pathway doesn't work for me at all. You want to have sex for that reason? Well, I want to have it for this reason. You're a morning person. I'm a night person. You want to get off. I want to make love. I want to reach the divine. Well, I want to be playful and, whatever.
All
And
those
we
things.
have this vast erotic imagination, and they're not always in sync.
Yeah.
So a lot of people feel,
Mm,
because that can be a time where we have periods of no sex,
mm,
where one of us enjoys it, the other doesn't. We're very discrepant in our desire. We have
mm,
power struggles. I mean, the whole gamut. Many people feel like, well, okay, the magic is gone.
mm,
This is the death knell of my erotic life.
mm,
I think differently about that. I think since most of our life journey is the real life journey,
mm-hmm.
that this is really where the magic begins, because re-enchantment is learning how to work with these things consciously
Mm,
in service of transformation in the ways we have just been saying. So if we can take that view that the journey doesn't end in disenchantment,
mm,
we can use all of this as fodder for our growth and development and become more connected. The issues that are normally divisive can be very connecting.
mm.
Again, that heals not only just our relationship, but some wounds from early life and the Eros wound that I feel our culture carries.
Yes. Yes. That's just so beautiful and feels like the invitation to real life awakening as a as a couple is what you're
Yes.
offering through your work.
Yes. Not some mystical far off place where maybe if I get there,
Yeah.
then I can be wakefuler and reap, what I've sown. But no, it's the day in and day out where the magic happens in the
And that was
ordinary.
the word I was thinking in my mind. It's about restoring magic into
Yes,
relationship and into the sexual expression of the life force, and thereby serving life, which is
serving life.
how I'm seeing your work now. Well, it's been just such a pleasure to talk with you.
Oh,
And I'm sure that you'll receive some inquiries from the Matrix Works and Enlightened Feminine Leadership community. I will include information about how to contact you in the newsletter, so we don't have to go over that now unless you'd like to.
no, 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 I'm
Yeah.
fine with that.
And
Yeah.
I wish you so well
Oh,
in your becoming public really with your work. You're
mm,
increasing your visibility and your accessibility for
thank
a
you.
deep need that's happening. So,
Well, thank you for giving me this platform to
yes,
meet your community and share a little more about the work. I really appreciate your support and I love, love, love and behind absolutely everything you stand for and what you're doing as well.
thank you so much. I'm going to stop our
Mhm.
recording.